So, Dev, we have breaking news.
What's the news?
Buses.
What about them?
Something about late buses, I believe.
Oh, well, what about them?
I think it's about the time that they're supposed to arrive.
And the time students are arriving home?
I believe so.
Let's go check it out.
Let's go get an interview.
Hi, I'm Devin Morse, and I'm here talking to Mr. Palladino about the late buses. Hi, Mr. Pal. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. And I just want to know, how do these late buses work?
Well, late buses, we have two scheduled late buses. One for activities after school, and then the other one for like our clubs, and then the other late buses are for our sports teams.
Okay, and is there like a time range where like only the sports teams can ride the 5:30 or vice versa?
Usually we have the activity bus for the clubs and everything scheduled for 4:15, since they're usually done earlier. And then the sports buses change throughout the seasons. In the fall, will be a little later because of the daylight. For the wintertime, for this example, our sports late buses will be at 5:30.
Okay, and what type of requirements do these students need to ride the bus?
Well, the intent for the late buses are for our students that are participating in things. So if you're in the newspaper, the Wingspan, and you have an after-school meeting, the intent is that you should be able to catch that 4:15 bus to go home. Same-wise, if you're on the girls' basketball team and you have the early practice that day, and it's over at 5, you should be able to catch that 5:30 bus. The intent is not for students who aren't participating to stay after school and hang out and then catch those buses. The intent is for our students that are participating in things to give them a way to get home if they need to.
Right, and students have to show the bus driver the pass, or is there like a security guard they have to show the pass to?
Well, we're going to start. In the past, they had sports passes for the buses many years ago, and now we're going to start that again in a few weeks. We'll make announcements. We'll have calls going home so everyone's aware of it. But for the sports buses, we'll have daily passes that the coaches will give to the students using those, and then the bus drivers will collect them as they go. So, in a few weeks, if you don't have that pass after practice to get on the bus, you're not going to be able to get on it.
That sounds like a fair resolution. How many students do you feel catch these buses?
Well, in the fall, we had 3 sports buses leave, just with the amount of students we have participating. In the wintertime, you have a limited number of teams. You can only have so many kids on a basketball team and things like that. So we'll have 2 buses going out.
Okay. And do you know how many buses, like how many students each bus can hold? Is there like a limit?
I believe each bus can hold up to 48 students, 2 to a seat.
Okay. And you said how many buses are actually scheduled to come?
Right now we have 2. And if it's an issue, like we reevaluated in the fall, 2 wasn't enough, so we bumped it to 3. But like I said, for the wintertime, you have a finite group of students that are participating. So usually 2 should be good enough.
Okay. And what route do these buses take?
We have one bus that goes throughout the borough, and we have another one that goes to the townships. And it all depends, how many kids we have and where they're living at that any time. It's not like a regular bus route where that bus has, they're going to A, B, and C, and then to the high school to drop off. It really depends who the kids are, who the students are that day needing to get the late bus home.
Right. And I understand that there's really no way that you can tell what time the last bus stop comes, but can you just give me about an estimate? So if I catch the 5:30 bus, will it take me an hour to get home or half an hour?
Yeah, like you said, it all depends the group of kids that are on the bus and where they need to go. If we're leaving right at 5:30, I would hope the last drop-off would be around that 6:30 range. But like I said, it all depends if that bus is going, to the townships, what part of the township it's going to, and how many kids we have in between.
Okay, and have you had any concerns about the time students arrive home or what time the bus arrives to the school?
We haven't had any calls or concerns phoned into us, so at this point I have none.
Okay, and what are some of the staff responsibilities so students can have a successful way to get home?
Well, we have Mr. Thompson, our security guard at night. He's there when the students are loading up. Our coaches are also responsible moving forward, as they have been in the past. But we're really making sure it happens now, that they have a coach, a member of their staff, with their group of kids before they can get onto that bus. So not only do the students have to have the tickets starting on after we get back from Thanksgiving break, but the coaches also have to be there during the loading time for the students to get on. So not only supervision-wise, but safety and making sure that we're all doing the right thing.
Right, that makes sense. And what role do you play in the late buses? Or do you schedule the times? Is that your job?
I schedule the times. I arrange for them in conjunction with Mr. Assistant Principal Smith for the activity buses. The late sports buses are my responsibility, and just making sure, getting feedback, we have enough, we're having issues, things of that nature.
Okay, and what do you think that some of the staff can do to reduce some of the issues, such as being too overpopulated, or maybe too few students riding the bus?
Mm-hmm. Well, needing another bus is a good problem. That means we have a lot of kids participating. So I'll take that problem any day of the week. But the staff's just there to make sure at this point, the coaches in particular, that we get the daily tickets out, the daily passes out to the kids, that they're supervising their areas, that they're getting back to me with any feedback that we may need to help try and fix this. Because in the end, there's a reason we have these late buses, to make sure that our students that maybe don't have a ride home or don't drive can still participate and still have a way to get home. So we want to make sure it works for everybody, but at the same time, we want to make sure it's a good ride for those kids, and not necessarily kids that aren't participating, taking advantage of the situation, because that's when we run into overcrowding, and that's not the purpose or the intent of these buses.
Right, that sounds reasonable. And is there anything else you would like to add?
No, other than that, come out for the Thanksgiving football game, and hopefully everyone comes out for a winter sport.
Thank you. I'm Devin Morrison. I just got finished talking to Mr. Palladino about late buses. Now back to the Eagle's Eye.